As an A-level media studies student, I've become more exposed to all of the technologies that are at our easy access today. And because of the easy access that we have to all of them, my work has been enabled to be at the best of my ability with very few problems over the last 6 months. During research, we used iPhones to film interviews, SurveyMonkey to fulfill questionnaire information, iMovie to edit the interview videos, Google as a main search engine, and YouTube to look at existing work, indie videos especially. These programs and websites were only used very briefly and not to any large extent, just the use of simple and easy features. YouTube was also used a lot during research and planning to look at existing work and also other A-level students' work. When researching about digipacks, I used Spotify to look up album and single covers, to get some insight into professional photography and the conventions of indie album presentation. This was just a matter of typing in the name of a song or an album I wanted to look at, and it would simply come up on the screen. For the web page research, using the internet, I surfed various mainstream and indie artists' own websites to look into similarities and differences between artists like Florence and the Machine and artists like Iron and Wine, where there is contrasting elements used to promote their music and global image. This was really easily done through the use of Google and most of the time selecting the top link on the search engine results. When applying this thorough research towards my projects, I felt well equipped and prepared, having explored several case studies before designing and brainstorming as a team. Exactly what we wanted to produce in my music video for 5 years' time. As the Digipack and website are ancillary tasks, they contribute enormously to the launch of the final media product and focused on song. Working in a dynamic and ambitious group of 3 permitted me to operate constructively and constantly share our ideas professionally. When looking at the idea of sharing ideas, when we were not at school together in a group, there are a couple of methods that we set up to enable us as a group to communicate and share photos, links, ideas for one another to look at. We did this through creating a group on WhatsApp Messenger on the iPhone and BlackBerry, and also a group on Facebook to let us have a group message going. This helped us out hugely as it meant that we were always able to communicate with one another and that ideas were shared all of the time and not forgotten. The first task that we set out to do in the production stage was to film. The filming process was done over about 2 to 3 days through the use of a Canon X1H1 camera. The reason that we used 2 cameras, however, was to make sure that every shot that we got from 2 angles. Although this was beneficial in some ways, in other ways it meant that we had a larger choice of shots and larger range of angles, which did mean that there was more shots and work and filtering to be done. Therefore, the use of this camera and the use of 2 of them both constrained and enabled our work. When filming, we also did some shots on a wide-angle lens to increase the size of the frame, for example the shot of the 4 people behind the tree, as this did not all fit in the standard size lens. When filming, we also used the zoom feature on the camera, and also, when it was not as clear, we zoomed in to increase clarity. Filming from a bird's eye view and extreme close-ups also allowed us to play with different spaces available. When filming outside, the only source of light that we had was the natural light. This is because we filmed all of the shots outside where the footage was bright and the days were filmed on clear and sunny days. There were, however, other types of shots we filmed, for example, the shots of the 2 silhouettes kissing and hugging, and also the shots of the hands with words on them and the back of the neck with words on them. Another shot that was also filmed inside was the lip-syncing of the main female and male characters. For the silhouette shots, this was casted through the use of numerous red headlights all being pointed at the wall, and the use of trial and error with the characters trying to get in the right position. This is also how we filmed the letters LOVE that were also shadows. When filming the words on the hands and on the back of the neck, this was done through the use of room lighting and 1 red head to make sure that all of the letters could clearly be seen. The shot of the lip syncing was done with overhead studio lights to make sure that as few shadows were casted as possible. This was the same for filming of the Scrabble pieces at the start of the video. Filming wasn't actually too hard, and we had all learned all of the basic skills in our AS project. However, managing 2 cameras was harder than managing one for obvious reasons. I also found that the cameras were not hard to use, as all of the features are simplistic and user-friendly. We also took pictures throughout and separately too, as we knew that we wanted to create some stop-motion shots of people holding up different signs. For example, the fun sign with the girl in the denim shirt, and also the love sign with the 4 girls moving towards the camera. As the camera quality on the iPhones that we personally had was of a high quality, instead of having to carry around a big camera, we used this for some of the shots, as it was portable and had no level of constraint of where we went and what photos we took. It also meant that the photos would automatically appear on my laptop through the use of Apple's iCloud, which meant that the process was really quick and easy. Photos were also brightened on the computer and slightly cropped to the size that we needed them to be on iPhoto on my MacBook Pro. For the stop-motion shots of the elephants, however, we did use a mini tripod and a Sony SLR camera. We also used an interactive whiteboard to create some of our shots, and also through the use of the projector projecting imagery onto one of the characters' faces. In the production stage of the Digipack, the software program that I used was CorelDRAW. There were numerous features that I used throughout the process, but the main features that I used were the crop, brightness, contrast, and text tools. The crop, brightness, and contrast tools were very straightforward and just a process of choosing what people like and didn't. And the font tool was used to choose the colour, size, and style of the font on the back cover. These images were converted into a JPEG and then moved onto Paint to put all of them into the template of a virtual copy of my Digipack. To create my web page, I used an online program called Wix. That provided me with a template that I worked with and added my own edited images and text, as well as the soundtrack, which was uploaded through the use of SoundCloud. Photos were edited for this also through the use of both CorelDRAW and iPhoto, depending on what was needed to be done. There was also the selection process of different colourings and fonts, and I asked numerous people's opinions on what they were before choosing. The web page was not something that I was used to using, so the creation of it did take time to get used to. There were, however, tutorials online available that helped me, so I did not encounter any major problems in the end. The editing for all of the footage was done on the school computers, where we had a double screen to work with, making it easier for us to see everything, again enabling work. After plugging the camera into the computer with the connecting wire and syncing the footage onto the computer, the program that we conducted all of the editing on was Adobe Premiere. The song that we had chosen and bought off of iTunes was also added to the timeline. This program was known to me as it was the program that I also used last year. However, there were a lot of new features that I did not use prior to this year. The tools that were used all the time were the cutting and selecting tools that were on the keyboard, so I had easy access to the timeline. The timeline is where all of the footage is, and it can all be slid along to be put in the correct places. The newest feature to me that allows you to play with the speed of the footage, as a large amount of the shots were put in fast motion. For example, the shot of the hand drawing on James Dean, and also the shot of LOVE being written on the whiteboard. The colouring was also played around with, as a lot of the shots were brightened up to look more appealing and exciting to the audience. This was done through the use of dropping and dragging the warm up and summer's day tools. As the time went on, the program became more well known to me, allowing it to get increasingly easier and also less time consuming. The program did also have a few features that did not constrain us at all. For example, the way that the timeline was not showing all of the layers when creating a shot with 4 little screens, because this problem was easily rectified. There were very few special effects which were used, and we stuck to very simple transitions, and also this allowed us to avoid the video looking clumsy and amateur. Throughout the entire process of my work, I was taking screenshots of everything I was doing through the tool on the keyboard that allows you to do so. And I was constantly posting on Blogger of what I was doing and what I was up to in the process. When looking at what I would change in the 3 pieces, I would say that there was one common problem with all of the platforms, and that was the quality of some points. The reason that the footage lost quality was because of the constant exporting and importing of it, meaning that every time a slight element of quality was lost. And this was therefore the same for the 2 other platforms, as the images were taken from some screenshots of the video's footage. Overall, the editing process did take time initially, but as I got more and more familiar with the features that I was using for the project, my skills developed more. The changing of transitions and editing speed, colouring, framing of the shots were all elements that I became more and more familiar with as the process went on.